If you're considering buying a property that's over $1 million, there is more competition, and we don't want you to make mistakes because in 2014, between mid-March to mid-May, only 4.4% of all detached homes sold over $1 million. Now fast forward to the past 60 days, well, that number skyrocketed to 14% of all the detached homes sold that were over $1 million. Who am I? Well, I'm Jared. I'm the co-founder of Chamberlain Real Estate Group with Real Broker. We have helped many people buy and sell in this luxury price range, and I want to share 7 mistakes that many buyers make when buying a luxury home in and around Calgary. Mistake number 1 is listening to only your lender and your agent about what you qualify for. Now, I have watched many people who have said, hey, I can qualify for this, so let's go buy that. And that's not a great strategy. What you qualify for versus what you can afford are very two different things. Looking at your gross income versus your take home or your net can be a really big difference when it comes to what you actually can afford on a monthly basis. Now, truth be told, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, we're salespeople, and your purchase is the income that we make, that agents make, and that mortgage brokers make. There are some that are truly in it for the right reasons. They want to advise. They want to ensure that you get the best home for you, your family, at the right cost, and it's not going to bankrupt you. You're not going to become house poor because of it. And then there are others that will always say, hey, if you want it, go for it. Let's just go buy it. Let's just put the deal together. Let's make it happen. And you need to spend X, Y, Z to make it happen. And you have to be able to know who to trust and who to weed out. And so when someone's making their income off of advising you, be sure that you know your numbers because you can't always trust everybody else to know them. And that leads right into our second mistake. That is stretching yourself too far. Now, I've seen friends of mine which really stretch themselves. They push beyond their means to get into that luxury home despite my warnings and conversations I had. And then they regretted it. It nearly cost them everything, including their relationship. And I don't want to see that for you when you're working with us to find the perfect luxury home here in Calgary. Being house poor is just not a great idea when it comes to owning a luxury product because the stakes are higher when you stretch yourself and things just feel a little bit more wobbly. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see on this mortgage calculator, this is a spreadsheet that we use for our clients when we're talking about money, and the purchase price is $1.4 million. Now, many banks, many mortgages, companies are going to look at roughly a 39% of your gross income, as long as you don't have any debts, and let's pretend that this is the case. So this is a household income of $200,000. It's a pretty high income earning family, and of $200,000, they're bringing home about $16,667 gross. Now net, after taxes, which is about 35%, is about $10,833. So if they look at this at $1.4 million, a 35% equity, which is about $500,000 roughly, because that's how much they have, let's say, from their last property that they currently own, and they're upsizing to this one. So out of that, they've got about $500,000 of equity. This is gonna be a $6,527 monthly cost. And they are at 39%, it is $6,500. So 1.39 is going to be the rough price that they can purchase up to, and the bank would say, yeah, you qualify for that. Go for it. Let's see what happens. What happens is nearly 60% of your take-home income is now going towards that mortgage and that house. That is a large number and super uncomfortable even for me. And I would never do that. And I don't want you to do that because that is putting yourself in too tight of a situation. So what you want to do is you want to run your numbers. So let's go down to $1 million. And we got to remember the equity number there because you have about $500,000. So let's say $500,000. So right away, when you look at your numbers and say, okay, $1 million, 50% equity because you got 500,000, that puts you at 34.9% of your take home is now going towards your house. So just because the banks say that you can afford $1.39 million of a property, does not mean that you should be spending that. You should be spending only $1 million. Take that other $390,000, forget about it, and focus on buying $1 million property. Now, mistake number 3 is not fully understanding what this market is like, because luxury type properties over $1 million, it is a different beast. It is a slower moving beast that is very different than other types of products, right? So a $500,000, $600,000 home is going to potentially move a lot quicker than a $1.3 million home. So as you can quickly see on this chart, the months of supply over $1 million, and this is for the month of April, just as an example, everything under $1 million in 2024 is in a solid seller's market right now. I mean, it's below 1 month of inventory. And everything above $1 million is sitting at about 2.3, 2.4 in this chart. Now, if the market switches, or let's say things calm down a little bit, which they will at some point, they have to. And let's say you buy that property, 5 years, 7 years time, 3 years time, whatever it is, the market kind of switches a little bit. We could end up having a slower market. So you need to know what that is like. You need to know that you're able to afford that, and you want to be able to kind of ebb and flow with this new type of market that you're getting into. Because I recall years where the higher end market was much slower and would take months and sometimes even years to sell some of these homes. Now, we once had an acreage that was listed, and it was literally the nicest, most stunning home on this cul-de-sac, like absolute stunning property. Now, they wanted top dollar for this acreage, and I don't blame them, because this home was absolutely stunning and it was meticulously kept as well. So how long did it take them to sell this place? Well, it literally took years to find the right buyer who was willing to pay the price for this property in this market on that street to be able to move forward and get a price that was even remotely close with what he put into it. However, as time progresses and Calgary still looks affordable to many from the outside of our province, this market could actually change in the future forever, potentially. What is $1.5 to $2 million here can easily be $4 million sometimes in some areas of Vancouver and Toronto. Now, mistake number 4 has to do with costs, your operating and your maintenance costs. Reality is, when you buy a property like this, deeper pockets are needed for ownership and maintenance. It's really easy and cost effective to heat and cool a 1,500, maybe 1,800 square foot home. But when you're getting into the larger homes, the cost and efficiency can go out of the window, and those costs can really jump quickly. Now, some items that can come up that you want to make sure you're checking into before pulling the trigger on the perfect property is landscaping and yard maintenance. What does that look like? How are you going to maintain it? Are you going to have someone else maintain it? Also, your HVAC systems. Do you need new ones, first off? And do you need air conditioning because the home is a lot larger? Do you need new furnaces? Like, what does that look like? How's that going to work? And what is the operating cost on those? The roof and exterior, well, those are just bigger. You have bigger footprint of a property, so that's just going to cost even more if there's any issues on it. And anything inside, like replacement of work on plumbing, drywall, windows, anything like that. Because again, a lot of these luxury properties, you're either going to buy them fairly new or you're going to buy them fairly old. The reason being is because luxury homes are typically built in some of the more older, mature neighborhoods because of the land value and its proximity. A lot of times that's what it is inner city larger homes. Now, if you were gonna do this, a great rule of thumb that we always suggest to our clients is spending about 1.5% to 2.5% of the home's value for maintenance and upkeep, or even just proactively investing in the property to keep it looking great. Now, if you have a $550,000 property, you want to probably spend about $8,000 to $14,000 per year. If you have $1 million property, plan on spending $15,000 to $25,000 per year. And if you're jumping up to a $1.5 million property, expect to be investing about $22,000 to $37,000 per year to continue the upkeep and maintenance of this property. Now, some of those numbers may feel really steep or seem really steep to you, but that's what it is. Things are costing more when you're in the luxury market. Now, I know I said there's 7 tips, and there are, but number 5 is really, really important. Buying the largest home on the street can cause a lot of pain, a lot of problems down the road. So remember my example about the largest, most extravagant acreage that we listed years ago? Well, that wasn't a one-off chance. And we've seen this happen time and time again. If you purchase the largest home on the block, you either need to have deep pockets and staying power to be able to flip that, sell that when it comes time to do so, or be willing to sell it for less than you hope for, because perhaps the market has shifted, has changed a little bit. So like buying the biggest home on the street, which you never should do, this reminds me of also never being the smartest person in the room. And if you are, you need to find a new room. Always be learning and growing, stretching yourself, figuring out who you can become. So if you are the largest and most expensive home on the block, then you bought in the wrong area. So what you needed to do was actually find, let's say you're willing to spend 1.5, 1.8, even $2 million. Don't buy in an area where that's at the top end of the range. Buy somewhere where there are $3 to $4 million properties and find the $2 million one. That is going to give you a lot of leeway for future renovations, changes, expansions, anything you want to do on the property. It's going to allow you to have more bandwidth and get your money back when it comes time to actually sell that property. Tip number 6 is all about buying quick flips or poorly built homes. In this market, we are seeing a lot of flippers and more high-end flippers than I've ever seen. And so they're going in and buying some of these really old detached homes, and they're renovating the crap out of them and building something beautiful. Sometimes we're even knocking it down and putting a brand new house in that space. So I have seen some stunning homes that were purely just stunning on the surface. Builders are only as good as their worst trade. So higher the quality of the home, the less issues it will have. So make sure that when you are going to buy a newer property, understand who the builder is. Find out if they're a big builder, a small builder, how involved are they with their trades? Who are their trades? Have they worked with these trades for 2 months? Do they turn over trades a lot? Or do they have a longevity and they have a good relationship with the trades that have been there? I know the builders that we know that we have worked with in the past, even building out the studio here. I mean, the tradespeople were amazing and they were fantastic to work with, and they've had longevity and really great relationships with the builder. So it's important to work with an agent who has good relationships with builders and can help you see mistakes, holes, gaps that you might not be aware of because you're just falling in love with this property and it looks like everything is what it should be, and you're so excited because you finally found that $1.9 million property that you've been searching for the last year, and no one else is writing on it and you can just buy it. What a great feeling. But you don't want to overlook all the small things and making sure that it is a quality home for you and your family and your investment in it. So mistake number 7 is not having a plan for how long you're going to be living in this property. Now, typically, luxury homes are built in the best neighborhoods and the best areas of any city across Canada. By living in these homes, you can have shorter commute times, walkability to major amenities, mature areas and trees, but luxury homes aren't all the same. Just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's guaranteed to hold value or increase in the future. Now, what goes up in value? Is it the actual property itself, the house, or is it the land? Well, it's land. Now, where does land go up in value the most? Well, where there's demand for it. Land is always cheaper on the outskirts of the city, and the last time I checked, they are making more of it on the inner parts of the city. So if you must purchase something, and there's a chance that it's going to be only held for a couple of years, then focusing on home's location above all else is going to be critical in order for you to sell in a shorter time frame than sitting on that property for 5, 7, or 10 years. Now, many of you who are buying up these luxury homes are coming from out of town, and if you're wondering if making the move to Calgary is still worth it, well, this is for you.